I'm Rantasmo, and another gay movie needs more gay. To this day, I still don't really understand how the movie American Pie got as popular as it was. It certainly hasn't aged particularly well. I guess teens talking openly and irreverently about sex was a little more of a novelty in the late 90s. And there's at least a veneer of sentimentality and female agency that you don't necessarily see in older teen sex comedies like Porky's. Though both movies do include scenes that suggest a not super duper great attitude towards consent. American Pie pushed the boundary of acceptable content in media aimed at teenagers, so it makes sense that the gay equivalent of American Pie would push those boundaries even further. And it does, but maybe not quite in the way that you would hope. It's clear enough that another gay movie was meant to capitalize on the success of reference-laden spoof movies like Scary Movie, Epic Movie, Disaster Movie, Date Movie, and Not Another Teen Movie. These are not exactly the pinnacle of American cinema, but however juvenile the execution, they often have at least something to say about the genre of movies that they're spoofing. Like, for instance, their portrayal of ostensibly hideously unattractive social outcasts.
Guys, she's got glasses and a ponytail.
So you might assume that in the same way, another gay movie would be an exaggerated pastiche of the gay interest genre, poking fun at melodramatic high school coming out stories and tragic romances about closeted lovers torn apart by the pressures of society. But while there is a tiny bit of that, another gay movie is mostly just a more explicit, direct parody of American Pie, with gay twists on all of the most identifiable elements from the original. Instead of a pie, we get a quiche. Instead of Stifler, we get a butch lesbian named Muffler. And instead of a sexpot foreign exchange student, we get Graham Norton. Our leads don't exactly mirror the characters in American Pie, though they are fairly archetypal. Andy is our analog to the Jason Biggs role, except this time he has a crush on his teacher. Jared is the good-looking but insecure jock. Griff is the know-it-all nerd. And Nico is the flamboyant daddy-chasing twink in the transparent closet.
She loves Liza with a Z and role-playing and investment banking.
The four of them make a vow to lose their anal virginity. And what follows is a madcap romp full of hookups gone horribly wrong, scatological mishaps, penis manglings, and ill-advised Asian caricatures.
But this are too many letter, Buffy. Does not add up.
Really? I mentioned Graham Norton earlier, and this movie actually contains several appearances from noted gay celebrities. Scott Thompson is in the Eugene Levy role, and just like Eugene Levy in American Pie, this movie is way, way beneath him.
This is the starter model, of course, with the handy suction base.
The comedian Ant also makes a brief appearance as an EMT. Also, Richard Hatch is here because it's 2006 and people apparently still care about Richard Hatch and want to see his penis. And then there's this guy who... is that? It is. It's the guy who played Voldemort Cock in Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Balls. And somehow this almost feels like a step down. I will say that this movie has some good things going for it. For one thing, it's nice to have a movie about gay teenagers that's not all about the struggles of coming out of the closet. Even if it doesn't spend much time directly lampooning gay cinema, it does act as kind of a response to the tired old gay coming out stories that we've seen so many of.
Coming out stories are so passé bourgeois.
Even with more modern films like GBF, which is a fairly light and fluffy teen comedy, it still centers mostly on the experience of coming out. In another gay movie, most of the characters are already out, and are much less concerned with the gloom and suffering of pervasive homophobic stigma than they are with, well, getting laid. And that's actually kind of refreshing. And it's not that I don't think there's a place for rude, gross-out gay humor. In fact, considering the dearth of gross-out gay movies outside of the work of John Waters, and especially the lack of non-bland gay movies targeting teenagers, there is a void there that I'd like to see filled. Phrasing. But it just kind of sucks that our one gay equivalent of American Pie is, at best, very derivative of American Pie, and at worst, just kind of hollow feeling. If you hang out at all on the gay part of YouTube, which I guess you clearly do to some extent, you may have seen these music video parodies where a hot guy will lip sync a popular song, or where a group of hot guys will dance to a popular song. I'm certainly not complaining that these videos exist, but they're not exactly parodies. And if they are, then what's the joke here? there's a pretty decent chance that anyone who watches these parody videos are only watching them for the hot guys. And again, that's totally fine, but at times Another Gay Movie kind of feels like the filmic equivalent of this. It bills itself as a parody, but almost all of the jokes are jokes that were either in the original, except with gay guys this time, or there's just like a hot guy there, and I guess that's the joke? Of course, you could easily say the same thing about straight sex comedies, where there's just like a sexy lady there and that's more or less the joke. So maybe this is just an issue I have with the entire genre. But whenever there is something approximating an actual joke in another gay movie that wasn't in American Pie, it's just not especially funny. The gross outs mostly fall flat, the performances are pretty weak, and there's an awful lot of punching down at disabled people and racial minorities.
We love you long time.
Really? So no, I'm not a big fan of this movie, or its sequel which came out a couple years later, but there really is nothing else quite like them. And that's a problem. Because if Sturgeon's Law is true and 90% of any given genre is crap, that means we need about 8 more gross out gay teen sex comedies so that one of them can be good. So get on that.